She had seen this before, maybe in a movie or a drama. Once you witness your spouse with someone else, there's no going back to how things were. The same dream again. Her husband with a stranger. She must have dozed off. Break time was almost over, and she needed to get back to work. Miss Hei-soo, wait, her boss called out. Yes, boss, she replied, following him inside. You requested in advance for this month's salary 1.5 million won, right? I was upset because I had to withdraw the money in a hurry after you told me not to deposit it. But because you're such a hardworking person like family, I didn't want to lose you as an employee. Thank you very much, she said quietly. Is the financial situation still troubling you? Yes, with interest rates high, it's hard to keep up with payments. And your husband? I heard he got a job recently. He's still struggling to make a steady income, but he's working hard. Things will get better. Of course. You work so hard, so naturally he should too. Just then, a customer called out, Auntie, add 2 more servings of pork bellies. She responded promptly, Yes, I'll bring it right away. Handing the meat to the table, one of the customers said, Why did you give me all of it? You didn't eat much while cooking. She reassured them, I'm eating well. Just watching you enjoy your meal makes me feel full. The customer laughed, Then let me feed you. Ah. Hei-soo thought, couples in love are always beautiful, whether it's a grand romance or a simple one. Maybe youth itself is beautiful, bold, fearless in love. Does that mean my life has lost its shine? She pondered why people kept calling her Auntie. I'm a married woman and a housewife, so what? One of her coworkers chimed in, Hey, you're pretty. The prettiest 33-year-old I know. Hei-soo just smiled, brushing off the compliment. Her coworker continued, You work hard and still glow. I'm just happy to work with you, Hei-soo. Now, let's go home. As they left, Hei-soo couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. She saw beauty and brilliance in the youth around her, something she felt was slipping away from her own life. Is it the years, or is it the relentless work, trying to fill the financial gaps? Later that evening, her husband commented, Why do you walk around without makeup? It's not pleasant coming home to that. Hei-soo sighed, I can't even afford rent, let alone makeup. Even girls who work part-time manage to wear makeup. You're just lazy, he retorted. She felt a sting, but remained silent. Is it me who's lost my shine, or did loving him dim my light? As she reflected on her life, she remembered working tirelessly since adulthood, barely taking a break, except that one time she ended up in the emergency room with the flu at 24. Balancing marriage, work, and debt had consumed her. Then, her coworker apologized. I was just trying to cheer you up. How much money did you borrow under my name? Hei-soo didn't feel sad or depressed when faced with the debt. Instead, she felt calm, thinking that if she worked hard enough, she would eventually pay it off. But every now and then, an overwhelming surge of emotion would hit, making her want to cry. Later, as she worked at the flower shop, a handsome man came in, someone the part-timers called the Rose Guy because he bought roses every day. Are you here for the flowers? She asked. I'd like to place an order, he replied. As he left, Hei-soo thought, he's not just some romantic rose guy. There's something odd about him. There are people who naturally become the center of attention, and then there are those who fade into the background like extras in a story no one cares about. At first glance, he seemed like the former, while she always felt like the latter, much to her annoyance. As she handed the bouquet to the customer, her thoughts wandered. This man who had unexpectedly appeared in her life, one that had been so consumed by work and her distant husband, had left a strange impression on her mind. That's so amazing. You saw that, right? Her coworker exclaimed. I was right there, but he only wanted you to take his order. I think he came here just for you. He never talks to me or the boss, and he only comes in when you're working. She blinked, confused. But this is the first time I've noticed him. Her colleague gasped, What? How could you not notice a guy like that who buys flowers here every day? It's been months. Really? She replied, her voice soft as she tried to recall. She had made so many bouquets, it all blurred together. I swear, that guy is interested in you, her colleague teased. Stop talking nonsense and get back to work, she muttered, a bit embarrassed. Didn't you notice? He was only looking at you, her friend pressed. He's younger than you, right? Nowadays, younger men dating older women is the trend. Please, she chuckled. He looks at least 10 years younger. Her friend grinned, undeterred. You never know. Maybe he's genuinely interested. You're still pretty after all. She sighed, dismissing the compliment. If I'm considered pretty, I guess all the beautiful people in the world are gone. It's true, though. Don't people tell you that? Recently, someone had, but it felt like a kind lie to comfort her. It was almost amusing in a way, hearing those things from strangers, especially when her own husband had stopped saying them. Later that night, her husband Mincheol came home, tired and irritated. Get me some water, he demanded as soon as he stepped in, his tone lacking any warmth. She moved to the kitchen, barely listening as he complained about the food, the tea, and anything else he could find fault with. It's been a while since we've done it, right? He asked, his hands reaching for her, though his touch felt more like a duty than affection. But she didn't react. She felt too drained to care, too tired from working multiple jobs just to keep them afloat. The next morning, her routine began at 6 a.m. like every weekday. Even though the flower shop didn't open until later, she woke early to make breakfast for Mincheol. He never ate without soup, and he hated reheated food, so every morning, she made him fresh soup from scratch. It had become a habit, one she followed without much thought anymore. By the time she reached the shop, she was already exhausted, but she put on a smile for her coworkers. Good morning, she greeted them. Hold out until lunch, she told herself quietly as she prepared for another long day. Then, as if by fate, the rose Gaim appeared again. He was hard to miss, tall, handsome, with a voice that matched his appearance. She felt a strange sensation, like her ears were tickling, whenever he spoke in that low, polite tone. As she handed him his bouquet, her stomach suddenly growled, and she froze, embarrassed. He didn't seem to notice. Here's your order, she said, trying to brush it off. As he left, she called after him, Excuse me, you forgot your sandwich. He turned back, surprising her. It's a gift, he said with a soft smile. Please accept it. What? She stammered. I can't accept something like this. Why not? He asked, still calm. Then, almost playfully, he added, Is it because you don't have anything to drink with it? He handed her his own drink. I only had one sip. It's not poisoned, I promise. She stood there, unsure of how to respond, holding the sandwich and drink he had left behind. I'm telling you, he likes you, her coworker insisted, eyes wide with excitement. He left you a sandwich on purpose. And coffee too? If that's not interest, what is? But all she could think in that moment was, do I really look that pitiful? She caught a glimpse of herself in the shop window, a tired woman with no makeup, her skin blotchy and uneven. The man's actions felt more like pity or charity than genuine interest. Her stomach had growled so loudly, she figured it would have been hard for anyone to ignore. If she were in his shoes, she'd probably have done the same, leave a little something out of sympathy. Still, a small part of her wondered, what if this really was a sign of interest? The thought seemed absurd, but it made her workday a little easier, a fleeting distraction from her routine. Uni, what are you going to do now? Her colleague asked, curiosity piqued. About what? She replied absently. You said you had a boyfriend. Are you going to turn down the roses? Or maybe switch from him to the new guy? Her coworker wiggled her eyebrows teasingly. She frowned, feeling a pang of discomfort. He's not my boyfriend, she corrected. He's my husband. Oh, her coworker said, taken aback. When you mentioned you had a guy, I thought you meant a boyfriend. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were married. She sighed, irritation creeping in. Don't make it so obvious. We split up over debt ages ago, but we're still living together. You should only call me your wife at home, Mincheol. Her husband's words from the past echoed in her mind, stirring a familiar annoyance. Why do you always have to tell people our business? It's not like there's anything to brag about, living together after a divorce, he'd said, leaving her to grapple with the complexity of their relationship. Yes, she muttered now, forcing a smile. He's my husband. Let's stop talking about it. Her coworker apologized softly, sensing the tension in the air. As if on cue, her phone buzzed with a message from Mincheol. Mincheol, have some coffee while you work. She glanced over at her coworker, who was now distracted with a new topic. Ari is really pretty, isn't she? Her friend mused aloud. Did she say she's 25? What a great age. You know, your 20s are the best, Mincheol's coworker remarked, admiring Ari's youthful complexion. Your skin is so smooth and firm. Mincheol gave a half-hearted chuckle, thinking to himself, smooth and firm? The way older people talked about youth always seemed amusing to him. But there was no denying that being young had its advantages, and Ari was indeed charming. The conversation shifted, and someone pointed out how Ari's attention toward Mincheol was noticeably different. Her gaze softened whenever she looked his way, much more interested than when they had tried setting her up with someone else. She wasn't interested in anyone until now, they commented. You're good-looking, Mincheol. 33 is the perfect age to meet someone, and you're single, right? Yeah, I'm single, Mincheol replied hesitantly. Then give it a shot. Ari's quite pretty, isn't she? Before Mincheol could respond, the conversation shifted again, this time towards his work. His coworker asked, How's work treating you? Mincheol scoffed. Took you long enough to ask. You're just worried about your husband struggling now. He leaned back, irritation lacing his words. Every job is tough. Why bother asking? I'm not nagging, Sue responded quietly, a familiar frustration building inside her. She couldn't help but bring up their finances. Once you get your salary, we can pay off our debt faster and maybe remarry. All you ever talk about is remarrying, Mincheol snapped, cutting her off. Don't you think I'll do it once we clear the debt? But don't push it. When a woman nags, a man is bound to run away. Changing the subject, Mincheol added casually, Oh, by the way, I need some spending money. Spending money? Sue echoed, surprised. Yeah. I want to buy some cologne. But you don't use cologne. Mincheol shrugged. Now that I'm working, I see a lot of well-groomed guys in the office. Even the older ones are wearing cologne. I can't be the only one smelling musty like an old man. How much do you need? She asked reluctantly. About 200,000 KRW. Sue's eyes widened. Why is cologne so expensive? At my age, I can't buy the cheap stuff kids use. I should at least get something from a department store, he explained. But forget it if you don't want to give me the money. Sue sighed. They had spent so much on getting him a new suit and shoes for his job, and their expenses were still piling up. No matter how much they saved, they were still struggling financially. She was already working multiple jobs to make ends meet. On weekends, she worked at a motel in the afternoon and then took night shifts at a convenience store. She barely had time to sleep, constantly dividing her day into pieces just to keep their heads above water. But she told herself it was all for their happy family. Back at home, Mincheol asked, What made you suggest having dinner together? You actually offered to buy first. Wonders never cease. BM Teha. Are you okay with it? Sue replied, a bit surprised. You usually don't like noisy places. He smiled faintly. Well, it's nice to get some attention once in a while. Who should I call? Anyone you know, she said half-heartedly. If you say you're having dinner, a truckload of girls will come running. As they sat down at the restaurant, Mincheol seemed more cheerful than usual. Lately, you seem happier, he noted. They ordered 2 beers, and as they toasted, the conversation turned philosophical. You know, one of them said, men have always had a taste for excitement and fun, but they're not necessarily affectionate enough towards their wives. Sue couldn't help but wonder if that was true for her marriage. Was I not wise enough? Not affectionate enough? She thought. Did I ruin our relationship? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the shop door opening. We have a customer, someone shouted. She quickly snapped back to reality. Yes. Please come in, she greeted. How many in your party? She asked absent-mindedly, but froze when she saw the customer. It was the man with the roses. Sue stared in disbelief as a group of 4 entered the shop. One of the men held a bouquet of roses, and for a moment, she was caught off guard. A table for 4, please, he said. She quickly snapped back to her role, ushering them in. Oh, sorry. Come in, sit down. Her colleague leaned in and teased, "Seems like he likes you, Yuni. He buys a bouquet from you every day. Clearly, he's trying to impress you." "I'm not interested in that," Hae-soo replied dismissively. "I haven't even thought about it, and I certainly haven't wished for that kind of attention." But deep down, she felt a tinge of embarrassment knowing the young man might have overheard their conversation. For some reason, she found it difficult to meet his eyes now. "Is she your girlfriend?" someone from the group asked, and another chimed in. "They look great together." "The bouquet must be for her." Hae-soo sighed internally. Working with younger people, she often felt out of touch with their conversations. "Pull yourself together, nah Hae-soo," she scolded herself. "Hey, who are you looking at?" one of her coworkers, Hee-ji, asked, noticing her distracted gaze. "You've been staring over there for a while now." Another voice joined in, teasingly, "That's a disease, right? BM Taeha only gives you a little bit of attention, and that's why he always uses you. He's not interested in anything more." Hae-soo's frustration grew. "Why do you care who I'm looking at?" she muttered to herself, trying to brush off their comments. The conversation continued around her, but she couldn't focus. She could feel the eyes of the man with the roses lingering on her, but she wasn't ready to confront it. She just wanted to escape the awkwardness. Meanwhile, the atmosphere at the table grew tense. Someone snapped at another for burning the meat on the grill, while BM Taeha kept stealing glances at Hae-soo. His friend noticed and asked, "Why do you keep staring at that lady? Do you know hers?" BM Taeha hesitated for a second before replying, "Yeah, we know each other." "Really?" the friend pressed. "I mean, I had a feeling, but do you really know her?" BM Taeha shrugged it off, but the tension was palpable. Back at home, Hae-soo was sitting quietly, mending a shirt with a small tear. She was too tired to rest, and sewing felt like the only thing she could focus on. Her husband walked in and frowned. "What are you doing? Why aren't you resting?" She glanced up and sighed. "Why throw it away? It's still wearable." But his expression remained indifferent. "You really think men like pitiful women like you?" Hae-soo glanced at her worn-out underwear, feeling an overwhelming distaste for it. She hated the stretched fabric, which only made her feel older. It reminded her of how tired she felt in every aspect of life. Even small things like this seemed to pile on, adding to her frustrations. Suddenly, she sighed, thinking, why do embarrassing memories always surface when I'm trying so hard to forget them? No matter what she said, the conversations always ended up being depressing. Her husband interrupted her thoughts. "You have no charm, no mood, and you're clueless about men," he said bluntly. Yet there he was, still living with her, as if he were the only one willing to stay. They lived in a small, run-down house, their lives filled with mundane and unfortunate routines. The weather forecast called for rain in the afternoon, and Hae-soo noted it might last into the evening. She picked up 2 umbrellas and examined them, trying to decide which one was still intact. One was a bit worn, but she figured it could last a little longer. She'd let Min-cheol use the better one. At work, Hae-soo overheard Ms. Ari chatting as she headed out to grab coffee. "Did we run out of instant coffee?" she muttered while searching through the cupboards. Suddenly, she shrieked, "There's a bee bug over there." Hae-soo couldn't help but chuckle at Ari's fear. "Are you really scared of bugs?" someone asked, laughing. Ari nodded, clearly terrified. It was amusing to see someone so afraid, and Hae-soo thought to herself, I've never been afraid of bugs. Watching someone like this is actually kind of refreshing. A bit later, Hae-soo noticed that Min-cheol was running late. "Who?" Ari asked. "Who else? The guy who always buys roses," Hae-soo replied with a sigh. It had become somewhat comforting to see his handsome face amidst the tiring part-time work. And as if on cue, there he was, walking through the door. "Speak of the devil," Hae-soo muttered under her breath. Feeling awkward, she quickly excused herself. "I'll be out back, tending to the flowers." "You take the order," she told her coworker. "What do you mean? Where are you going all of a sudden?" the younger woman asked in confusion. The man walked up to the counter, asking for his usual bouquet of roses. "Is that what you buy every day?" the coworker asked with a laugh. "Yes, I'll take those," he replied. Hae-soo managed to avoid him this time, but she knew she couldn't keep running away forever. She resolved to stop avoiding him after today. Embarrassing moments fade, after all, and she hoped this would be no different. Later, the rain began pouring down heavily, just as the forecast had predicted. Hae-soo hoped Min-cheol had remembered to take the umbrella, but deep down, she doubted it. The convenience store isn't far, she thought, but the rain was too heavy to make a dash for it. If only I had bought a new umbrella sooner, she lamented. Now, she was stuck with a broken one. Min-cheol had been adjusting to his new job and seemed tired lately. Hae-soo didn't want to bother him, so she decided to wait out the rain a little longer. Just then, someone offered, "Where do you live? We can share an umbrella." Hae-soo hesitated. "No, I'll be fine," she said. "My place is a bit far from here. You can go ahead first." But the voice insisted gently, "It's supposed to rain until dawn. Let's just share an umbrella." Hae-soo insisted. "No, I'll be fine. My place is a bit far from here. You can go ahead first." The man, however, wasn't deterred. "It's supposed to rain until dawn," he pointed out. "Let's just share an umbrella." As they stood under the relentless downpour, Hae-soo couldn't help but feel as though the sky was mocking her, as if the universe found humor in her attempts to avoid this man. The situation made it impossible for her to refuse his offer without appearing rude. He continued, "I was just making a kind offer. If you had declined until the end, it would have been strange." There was a slight awkwardness between them, but Hae-soo, recognizing the sincerity in his voice, finally relented. "Thank you," she said quietly. On their walk home, the man stayed silent, much to her surprise. She expected some small talk, but instead, they both remained quiet. The steady sound of the rain created a comfortable rhythm, and being together under a one-person umbrella didn't feel as awkward as she initially thought. She noticed that he walked unusually slowly, especially for someone of his height. Min-cheol is tall too, she thought, remembering how she always struggled to keep pace with him. But this man, he was being considerate, adjusting his pace to match hers. For once, she didn't feel like she was rushing to catch up. Breaking the silence, she teased, "Your girlfriend won't like this. What if she finds out you shared an umbrella with a stranger?" Without hesitation, he replied, "Who said I have a girlfriend?" Caught off guard, Hae-soo stammered, "Huh, don't you? I mean, the woman I saw with you at the barbecue restaurant. She's not my girlfriend. She's just a friend," he clarified. "Is that so?" Hae-soo murmured, feeling a bit embarrassed by her assumption. "It's true. Please believe me." Yes, I believe you," she replied, but somehow her words felt strange, even to her own ears. What was she really thinking? Suddenly, a car sped by, splashing water dangerously close to them. The man instinctively shielded her. "I was worried you'd get hurt," he said. Hae-soo, still startled, muttered, "That was scary, but thank you." "Yeah, that driver was reckless," he added with a shake of his head. "Good thing I'm tall," he joked, trying to lighten the mood. She glanced at him, noticing his coat was soaked on one side. "Now that I see it, you're completely drenched, but my clothes are dry. Why are you so kind to me?" His response was casual, yet revealing. "You found me out." "I have my motives," he said, with a smile. "I just want to get to know you." Hae-soo's guard went up. "No thanks." "That's mean," he replied with a playful tone, though there was genuine curiosity in his eyes. "Why not? You're older, sure, but you seem interesting. Why wouldn't I want to get to know you?" She shook her head, resolute. "You're young, popular among women, I'm sure. You don't need to waste your time on someone like me." He smiled, undeterred. "If I'm young and popular among women, why can't I get along with an older woman?" "You can't," she said firmly. "So stop." Soon, they arrived at her place. "This is my home," she said, a note of finality in her voice. "Thank you for today. Will we still continue being strangers?" he asked, a hint of hope lingering. "Yes," she answered simply, leaving no room for ambiguity. "Let's continue being strangers." "All right then," he said, though he seemed to be holding back a smile. "I heard you clearly." As he turned to leave, Hae-soo found herself surprised at how easily he accepted her words. "I thought he'd be more stubborn," she mused, watching him walk away into the rain. As Hae-soo watched him walk away, His obedient response lingered in her mind, and she couldn't shake the feeling that his departure was somehow significant. She wondered how he had become interested in someone like her. Maybe it's just youthful curiosity, she mused. Glancing at the umbrella, she recalled that Mincheol hadn't taken his with him. When it comes to men, it's all up to the women, she thought, reflecting on the expectations placed on them. The man was responsible for earning money and making sacrifices for their families. I'll have to pick you up in front of the company, she decided, believing Mincheol would appreciate her effort. As she dialed his number, she heard the ringing tone, but then it disconnected. The customer's cell phone is off, she noted. It seemed their paths had diverged. He hadn't even seen the text she sent about picking her up because his battery had died. I shouldn't have come all this way without confirming anything with him, she thought with a sigh. Feeling defeated, she resolved to head back home. Suddenly, she noticed a woman staring at them with great intensity. What's up with that person? Why is she staring so intently? She wondered aloud. Just then, Ari approached, drenched from the rain. Hey, did you come here to pick me up? She's my family, just family, Mincheol responded, clarifying the relationship. Oh, I didn't know. I apologize, Ari replied, her expression softening. A close friend, similar to a relative, Mincheol added. Then I'll be leaving now. I'll use this umbrella instead. Bye, Ari said as she prepared to depart. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow, Mincheol, she called out, relief washing over her as she turned away. Once Ari was gone, Hae-soo couldn't help but question, why did you come all this way to pick me up when you didn't even ask me? It's unlike you to do nice things. Why now, all of a sudden? Nah, Hae-soo, are we leaving or not? Who was that? He shot back. That person just now. Ari? She inquired, recalling the brief interaction. She's someone I know. We work at the same company, he explained, brushing off the tension. What's with that expression? She's just a coworker. Do you really think everything boils down to attraction between men and women? He added, exasperated. That's not it. Calm down. Just chill a bit, Hae-soo replied, attempting to ease the tension. She noticed how he seemed to have a rigid view of relationships, but she wanted to challenge that. In today's society, it's normal to have friends of the opposite gender. Nah, Hae-soo, please don't be so embarrassing, he said, his frustration evident. As she stood there, the echo of his voice resonated in her ears, reminding her of the opportunity she might have dismissed too easily. I'm so exhausted, she exclaimed, feeling overwhelmed. It's not even peak season, so why were there so many group orders? Shouldn't we be paid extra for this? I feel like I'm going to collapse. If you're tired, rest. I'll handle the rest, he said generously. Thank you, Uni, she replied, grateful for the support. I just hope we don't have any customers until we get off work today. Except for Rose's. Seeing his face always gives me strength, she added with a wistful smile. Suddenly, she heard the door chime, and she turned to see the handsome man walk in. That's crazy. Rose's really came, she thought, her heart racing. Even today, he looks so good. I'll go. You can at least order from Hae-soo again, right? I'll go and rest up some more, she said, her excitement palpable. What would you like to order? She asked, her focus shifting to the tasks ahead. 2 weeks had passed since Hae-soo last saw Mincheol. He frequently returned home late or worked through weekends, consumed by his busy schedule. Other than that, life continued on like any other day. After she had told him they could never be acquaintances, he had swiftly distanced himself from her life. I will listen to you, he had said, his response suspiciously compliant, as he moved entirely out of her orbit. It seemed that his interest in her was nothing more than a fleeting curiosity that could easily be brushed aside. In a way, Hae-soo found it fortunate that the feelings had not been more profound. Deep emotions could leave scars that were hard to erase, and she felt relieved that this wasn't the case. Last night, she had fallen asleep without even noticing when Mincheol had come in, and she still hadn't heard from him. She found herself wondering if he had made it to work safely. Excuse me, please bring 4 servings of pork belly to each table, she instructed the staff.
Yes.
I'll bring it to you shortly, the server replied. So, after coming here, Are you feeling better after your divorce? One of the customers asked. Oh, I'm just glad I don't have to listen to that annoying woman's nagging anymore, he replied. I don't feel awkward sitting next to a young female employee like this at a company dinner, another man added, his tone carefree. The conversation continued, with someone suggesting that the company was steadily growing and the men should enjoy their second youth and meet new women. Well, it's not good for a man to stay alone without a woman for too long, one remarked. If possible, wouldn't it be great to start anew with a woman who has a nice figure and looks great even without makeup? Another chimed in. He had been eyeing a young waitress during company dinners, noticing her hardworking nature and down-to-earth demeanor. She seemed like a woman who didn't know luxury, he thought, believing they were only about 10 years apart in age. Since I'm a regular customer, she probably knows I'm a boss, and she'll likely be thrilled when I approach her, right? Excuse me, pour me a drink, he commanded. Oh, of course. I'll pour it for you, boss, the waiter responded. No, not you. I want the alcohol poured by that lady, he insisted, gesturing toward the waitress. Boss, this is still just a regular restaurant. The waiter hesitated, noting how drunk the man seemed. Do it quickly. Hurry up. Are you going to refuse? He pressed. Do you know who I am? He demanded, his irritation growing. What's going on? Another voice called. Boss, come quickly. That jerk is scolding Jesus, a colleague shouted, drawing attention to the situation. I'm the future president of a tech store, the man continued, his voice rising. Dear customer, what seems to be the issue? Jesus approached, trying to diffuse the tension. You're right here. You're the owner, right? Do you know how many times I've visited this store and helped business during these tough times? And this is how your employees treat me, he exclaimed, his anger palpable. It's my fault. I'll handle the employees. Please calm down. I'll give you some more meat as a service, Jesus offered, trying to smooth things over. No. Kneel down, he demanded, his tone harsh. You're just a serving girl in a place like this, and you have the nerve to talk back to me? I need to crush your spirit, he sneered. Boss, no matter how angry you are, you can't treat our employees like that, another voice chimed in, trying to intervene. What? She can't do that? I'm fed up after doing business during this recession. Do you think it's acceptable for a neighborhood meat shop to act this way? I know a few other business owners in this alley, and I'll make sure they all stop coming here. I deeply apologize, Jesus interjected, her voice shaking. Miss Jesus, I was wrong. Please forgive me. You don't have to do this. No. It's my fault that the customer is upset. I apologize again. Please continue to visit our store in the future, she insisted, hoping to defuse the situation. Why did you go so far for me? He asked, concern in his tone. I heard a bit about what happened. That guy was really out of line. You didn't have to go to such lengths. It's true that there aren't many company dinners these days, she explained. There are several companies in this area with a lot of employees, so losing those customers would hurt our business. I know how considerate the boss has been to me, and I don't want to cause any trouble. The world can be tough, he sighed. There are many bad people and a lot of like-minded individuals out there. But I'm okay. It wasn't just an empty remark. I really am okay. I've worked all sorts of jobs since I was young and have been through a lot. There were many nights when I couldn't sleep because of sadness. Her heart, once hurt, had grown tough, accustomed to the wounds of life. Did you say you were going to walk home? Let's go. I'll give you a ride, he offered. Oh, no. You can go ahead, sir. Actually, I started working part-time at a convenience store at night a while back. What? When do you rest? Are you made of steel? He asked incredulously. The convenience store is only open on weekends, so it's okay, she reassured him. I didn't mean to pry. Miss Jesus, do you have a lot of debts? Stop. I'll pay you back, so please stop, she exclaimed, her voice rising. I'm sorry. If you pay this debt, we can definitely remarry. Let's make sure we live happily ever after, he replied, a hint of hope in his tone. Yes, she said softly, though in the back of her mind, the thought of debt collectors knocking on her door lingered. Still, she continued to dream of the future. I feel good, he mused, reflecting on how satisfying it was to see her on her knees. If I had spoken nicely, she would have obeyed me right away. Didn't she hear who I was? You can't be pretty and expect no one to notice you. I have to break her spirit now, so that later, when I'm nice to her, she'll treat me well in return. Maybe if I treat her kindly next time, she'll fall for my unexpected charm, he thought with a smirk. Let's just wait. I'll come back next week and talk to her in private. Suddenly, he was jolted out of his thoughts. What the hell? Who did this? He shouted angrily. Who are you looking at? Do you want to die? Who is the person who wants to die? Do you know? A voice taunted. Ugh, my head. You don't smell like you've had enough to drink. Hit me hard, the man demanded. Dubba. Hurry. You cocky little brat. You don't know how to be afraid of adults. Yeah, I used to box a lot back in my day. You're dead.
Good job.
Do you know who I am? What the hell are you saying? How would I know who a little brat like you is? You don't know? If you don't, this is your chance to find out. Phew, there was a lot to do at night. Still, it was easier to work in peace without company around. The lack of customers allowed him to take a moment to rest. Welcome. Oh, it's the Rose guy? Do we live in the same neighborhood? We keep running into each other at the flower shop, the restaurant, and now the convenience store. Since he was the only one working, there was no one to take his orders. Whatever he thought. We're supposed to be strangers. Just treat him like any other customer. What the hell? What happened to his face? He muttered, realizing that something was very wrong. What had happened to his face? He had visible bruises and a busted lip that made it clear he had sustained a serious injury. No matter how she looked at it, it was a real wound. What kind of cruel person beats a child to this extent? She thought, feeling a mix of anger and concern. What should I do? We were supposed to be strangers. This wasn't acceptable. If she just put a bandage on without applying any medicine, it would only worsen. Did he think she was meddling? It felt absurd to suddenly step in when it was not her place to do so. So what should I do? Please teach me, she wished, feeling lost. Once again, she recalled his strangely polite tone. Are you still young? She reflected. I'll just let this slide. Follow me. His informal speech was a positive sign. Here, take this, she said, offering him a revitalizing skin ointment. I don't know how to use it, he admitted. Be more sensible. Forget it. Just give it to me. Suck it up. Even if it stings, she replied, determined to help. Does it hurt a lot? He asked. No, it's just a little ticklish, he responded. How old are you? She inquired. I'm an adult, he answered. So how old is he? She wondered. His response seemed odd for someone who was involved in fights. What happened to your face? She pressed. It's really not my fault. It's just because I'm poor. My house is a bit like that, he explained, his words weighing heavily on her heart. A poor life. Poor na Jesu. She recognized herself in him, the younger version of herself trapped in violence and poverty. The realization hit her hard. She couldn't afford to look away. Looking into his deep, black eyes made her heart ache. Are you weak-hearted? He asked, breaking her reverie. That's right. Last time, you asked if we could be acquainted. Okay, let's get to know each other. Can I call you Nina? Absolutely not. Call me Auntie, she said, amusement shining through her concern. Thank God, he exclaimed. For what? She replied, confused. Because I feel sorry for you. I'm on my third round in this day and age, but who isn't? I didn't want to go into that awful house anyway. Now, Ari, take this, someone interrupted, pulling her from the moment. Again? Ugh, boss, I'm so drunk, she groaned. Ms. Ari, are you refusing the drink I'm offering you?
No.
Now, drink. Come on, is there anyone else with an empty glass? This is soju and beer. A soju with 5% beer, she observed, noting the strange mixture he had prepared. He poured so much soju that even the color looked off. I'm on my third round because of Minchiol, but why are they so excited? It's annoying.
Oh, sure. Drink that.
I only poured beer, he urged her. She sighed. I'm so excited. I love it, she declared, feeling the buzz of the moment. Minchiol, what are your tastes? Someone asked. Let's see. Asking about ideal types is too cliché. But conversely, what type of person do you dislike? Well, anyone who is sullen, acts like an auntie, has no emotions, and wears stretched-out underwear for comfort would be a real turnoff, he said, laughing. That's the case for everyone, someone replied. Minchiel, you sometimes talk like a married man. You're single, yet you relate to us, another chimed in. Why is your type so specific? Single celebrities usually talk vaguely about their ideal types, but once they have a partner, they get incredibly detailed. I think Minchiel is a bit like that too. Even if you say that, maybe you also like aunties, someone joked. No way. I like cute, well-dressed young women. Not gloomy and unattractive middle-aged women, he asserted. What's your name? BM Teha, he replied. BM Teha, what an unusual name. I guess it's a good thing we decided to get acquainted. Minchiel still hadn't answered. He must have been busy. It must be hard to adjust to company life, so let's not contact him for no reason. Mizari, which way is your house? If I get you a taxi, can you get there by yourself? Yes, Minchiel, she started. What is it? He asked, curious. It's really strange. You're different from other guys. I really like you. But what should I do? Just pretend you don't know anything like other men. Just one more drink with me. Just one? Where? He asked, intrigued. An ominous feeling weighed heavily on him, reminiscent of excessive humidity on a summer night or sticky tar on melted asphalt, clinging to him in an unbearable density. It felt as if it were telling him there was an even deeper pit ahead, despite a lifetime of misfortune. Staying awake all night was exhausting. He needed to quickly get some sleep before heading back to work. Minchiel, is he not home yet? He wondered. When he called, he was informed that Minchiel had been at a long company dinner and had opted to sleep at a nearby bathhouse. Just because I stayed out overnight twice, do you plan to file a missing person report at the police station? Minchiel joked. Does it bother you that I'm not around for you to nag about a job? He retorted. Okay, just hang up. I need to go, Minchiel replied, and he sensed trouble brewing again. Out of habit, anxiety crept back in. He was stunned by Minchiel's indifference and, like a fool, reassured himself it was nothing, unaware that his heart was withering, dying of sorrow. Hey, Jihu, he greeted. Hi, oh, Teha? Jihu replied, surprised. What's going on? He usually didn't even remember names, typically just saying, hey, buddy. Long time no see, Teha said, trying to keep the conversation light. Why yes, right, haha. But, Teha, how do you remember me? Jihu asked, puzzled. We were in the same second-year class, Teha explained. That's true, but your desk was always there, and I was here, right? You had a good image because you didn't mess with the quiet kids, Jihu replied, struggling to connect. Still, guys like Teha usually didn't remember people like him. Can I ask you a favor? Jihu said suddenly. What the hell? Is this some sort of news scam? Is he trying to rip off his classmates? Teha thought, feeling wary. What is it? He asked. What's your foot size? Foot size? I have rather large feet for my height, so I wear size 290 millimeters, Jihu explained. Great. If you don't mind, let's swap shoes, Teha proposed. Why? Why the hell would he want to swap? What does that even mean? I don't even know what to say. No, it's okay, but is it really okay to swap shoes? Yours are really expensive. Isn't this bullying? He questioned. Yes. It's okay, Jihu replied. Thank you for doing me this favor. No need to thank me. You just lost a few 100,000 KRW, Teha. Then take care. Yes. I guess the girls were right. Teha reflected. He definitely seemed like a good kid, but there was a strange loneliness and aloofness about him. I don't know what he's thinking. What are you listening to? Jihu asked, curious. Trot, Teha replied. It's a good song, right? Jihu said, shaking his head at the odd choice. Hey, BM, Teha. What's wrong with your shoes? Someone interjected. What? They don't look like they belong to you, the person remarked. When did you ever wear something like this? They're pretty, right? Teha replied defensively. Are you serious? Crazy bastard. Yeah, haha. What the hell? Isn't that Doohee? BM Teha was next to her, and Jihu felt a twinge of jealousy. Why do girls love him? The girls he knew were begging him to leave. Are you asking because you don't know? It's the fucking face. It's all because of the face. Don't you even look in the mirror? Son of a bitch. Ju Dongwook, you asshole, look at your face. Do you think you're on BM Taeha's level just because he hangs out with you a bit? Do Heeji left you very quickly. Shut up. Fuck. I'm sorry, Yinny. Huh? For what? I guess I was mistaken in thinking that guy was interested in you. These days, he only buys flowers from me. When I see that, I feel like I made you misunderstand for no reason, so I feel a little sorry. Okay. Let's get to know each other. I don't need to tell her about what happened, right? Rose, when will you come? Your voice is so good. I can't wait to hear it. Let's not say anything. She looks so happy. Welcome. Hick, what the hell? Someone scratched the face of a national treasure. I'm here to buy flowers. What would you like? You know what I'm going to order. We know each other now. Then, I'll prepare the rose bouquet. Please wait for a moment. Is there no specialty here? You know, for an acquaintance. There's none. This is crazy. What the hell, no acquaintance discount? Is there no discount for someone the employee knows? No. What the hell are those two doing? The disco ball. What are you doing later? Do you want to be scolded? Forget the discount. What are you doing later? Do you want to be scolded? The response was a little blunt, but he needed to get back to work. Sorry, but I have to go to work again, so I don't have time to spend with you, he replied. I know, huh? We met at the meat restaurant the other day. That's right. We've barely gotten to know each other, but you're so busy. All adults are busy. Really? Then I don't want to be an adult. He observed the tired expression on his companion's face, recognizing that it was too much for someone so young. Are all kids like this these days? He wondered. Why do you look at me like that? Are you over 190 centimeters? His friend appeared taller than Mincheol, who was in the 180 centimeter.
Yes.
You seem to know a lot about men's height. I don't. It's because I've been living with Mincheol for 13 years, and I've always picked out his clothes and underwear for him. I'm jealous. You don't have to be jealous. You're much taller.
What?
Why are you laughing? It's nothing. Is it okay if I walk you to the store?
Yes.
He couldn't help but notice how quirky and naive Na Haesu was. Today, he realized that Haesu's shoes were quite worn out. The kid looked good enough to wear old shoes, but he couldn't understand how someone could afford to buy flowers every day. How can you afford to buy flowers every day? Wouldn't spending that money on something else be better? He asked. Well, there's no law that says you can't buy flowers if you're poor. The words slow and low blossomed in his mind like a single color in an otherwise colorless world. He felt a twinge of shame for his prejudice, criticizing Haesu's shabby habits. I've always made bouquets for people, but I never thought about giving them to myself. You're right. Thank you for walking with me today, Haesu said. If you're grateful, then let's see each other often in the future, he suggested. Where did Mincheol go? Did he go out to smoke again? Are things going well with Ms. Aries? Help. I'm really jealous, man. Ari seemed very haughty, but it turned out she wasn't. Or maybe it's because of you, Mincheol? Ha ha ha. But she's young. She might change her mind at any moment. When women get older, they all become snobbish and look for wealth before a man's face. So you have to catch them while they're young. It's simple, right? Because when a girl spreads her legs, she'll let you in. Oh, have you already? Mr. Songwon, are you an assistant manager? Yeah, that's right. Why? I know it's been a few years since you joined the company, but you're still an assistant manager. I don't think you have time to discuss this. Anyway, I don't know why you keep smirking while talking to yourself. It's not fun for anyone to listen to you, bastard. So stop talking, okay? I'll be leaving first. That son of a bitch. Funny bastard. The man who had only encountered women at bars throughout his life was lecturing him. Honestly, he wasn't sure about the situation. He was worried because things seemed to be progressing too quickly, and he had heard that men often lose interest easily after the first encounter.
But there was something different about this man.
He's a very special man indeed.
I
love him. I will never let him go. This man is mine forever. Haesu possessed a fresh, innocent air, still untouched by the harsh realities of the world. He seemed like a typical boy his age, innocent and romantic, who knew how to buy flowers for himself. Welcome. Give me a room, please. Here's my card. Yes, that's 50,000 KRW. And call some girls too. Sir, I need your credit card for payment, not this.
What? What are you talking about?
I gave you the card. Give me the room, right now. Sir, you can't do that. Do you have a room? Yes. Are you staying the night? I told you to call the girls quickly. Please give me all the remaining rooms.
What?
All of them? So you'll only work with arrogant people and won't work with others even if they've paid you. Oh my, what's going on? What is this motel? Hiccup. There's no room. There's no... Business is bad these days, but all the rooms are booked.
Okay, I'm glad.
Get off work early today, Ms. Hei-Soo. Then I'll be leaving, boss. Somehow, he felt incredibly lucky that day. Just the thought of having a break made the dark, slightly scary nights seem unexpectedly bright. He didn't realize it then, but all of that was about to change. Youth has a refreshingly frightening quality to it. When he received an unexpected message, it felt as though a splendid, youthful scent was wafting over his worn-out cuffs. What's going on? Why are you laughing all of a sudden? He wondered aloud. She ignored my call. What? Someone is ignoring your calls? A girl? BM Taeha is in contact with a woman? And she's the one ignoring him. The shock was palpable. Do Heiji know about this too? What are you making? Seaweed soup. I'll taste it. Feed me. It's hot, so be careful. Then blow on it and feed it to me. How is it? It's good. Whose wife is a better cook anyways? He found himself saying things he wouldn't normally express, not because he felt guilty about spending time with another woman for a few days, but simply because he felt a little sad. Staring at the back of Na Hei-Soo as she cooked, he couldn't shake the thought that no matter what he was doing outside, her life would always remain the same. Is it true that cheating actually makes a couple's relationship stronger? Did something happen? She asked, sensing his mood. No. Well, I'm grateful for the money you gave me to buy perfume the other day. Did you buy it?
Not yet.
I've been busy lately, and seeing you work so hard to make that money has made me hesitant to spend it. It's okay. You can buy it, he replied, realizing that Na Hei-Soo was a kind, albeit boring, person who accepted everything. Just stay still. Mincheol? I have to eat and go to work quickly. It's much bigger than Ari. I'm hard. Huh? Let's do it just once. I really can't be late today. He watched her, amused by how cute and unresponsive she was in moments like this. Her face flushed red, and he couldn't help but smile.
Okay.
I'll let you go, all right? Are you mad?
No.
Am I a beast who gets mad over that? Go to work. To him, Na Hei-Soo was like a flower he had carelessly picked in his youth, a pretty and uninteresting flower that couldn't thrive without being touched, and one that no longer knew how to set its thorns. Appa, what are you doing? It's the weekend, so I'm just resting at home. Don't you miss me? Of course I miss you.
Haha.
You didn't even contact me first. Hang out with me. I have to go buy perfume anyway, so should I go with her? He pondered. Hey, Sue? It's very expensive. What are you looking at?
Huh?
No, it's nothing. Do you like that bag?
Huh?
No.
Hey.
That's a luxury bag. It's probably worth a couple million KRW, if not more. A few million KRW? What kind of bag costs that much? Let's go. Suddenly, he was reminded of the annoyance of it all. Na Hei-Soo knew nothing about brands or luxury goods, so why would he want to go with her? Then shall we meet later? My eyes keep closing. I also have a shift at the convenience store later. Did something happen? He felt a twinge of worry after seeing him walk around with a wound, worrying about a kid who's not even nearby. He planned to finish work soon so he could meet him on his way to his next part-time job. If we talk while walking, I'll probably be able to stay awake a little longer. Is that so? You look a little different today. Yes. His aura felt very mature. I can only meet you for a little while. Are you going to work?
Yes.
It's okay. I'll walk you to the convenience store. Did I mention I was going to the convenience store? This alley is so dark and dangerous at night. I'm an adult. I'm not scared of that. I'm scared. You're so big it's like you're a barrier. A walking barrier. Then shall I walk behind you? Like this? That's fine. Just follow along quietly.
Yes.